AITA for refusing to remove the lock on my daughter's door until my wife's sister and her kids leave. This has been a long, draining situation, and I'm honestly at my wit's end. I 40M live with my wife 38 and our daughter, Lily 15. Lily is a bright, independent, and respectful teenager, and I've always made it a priority to make sure she feels safe and valued at home. Unfortunately, that's been increasingly difficult ever since my sister-in-law, Amber 42, and her kids, Anna 17 and Lucas 13, moved in with us 6 months ago. Amber went through a messy divorce and lost her home. My wife and I agreed to let her and her kids stay with us temporarily, as none of the other family members were willing to take them in. I thought it would be a short-term arrangement, but it quickly became apparent that Amber had no intention of leaving anytime soon. Things were okay at first, but problems started almost immediately with Anna. She and Lily share a similar age range, but couldn't be more different personality-wise. Lily is quiet and focused on her hobbies and schoolwork, while Anna is more outgoing and, frankly, has a sense of entitlement that's hard to ignore. The first issue came up when Anna started taking Lily's things without asking. It began small, a sweater here, some nail polish there. Lily would tell me that she felt uncomfortable but didn't want to make a big deal out of it. I asked Anna to make sure she asked for permission before borrowing anything, and she agreed. But it didn't stop. The situation escalated quickly. Anna began taking more personal and valuable items, including jewelry Lily had inherited from her grandmother. One necklace in particular meant the world to her, and we found it buried under a pile of clothes in Anna's room weeks later. By that point, Lily was in tears, feeling like her personal space was being invaded constantly. I tried addressing this with Amber, thinking she'd understand and rein her daughter in. Instead, she dismissed it completely, saying, "Girls borrow from each other all the time. It's normal." She even implied that Lily should be flattered that Anna liked her stuff so much. I was speechless. Things took a turn for the worse when Lucas got involved. He started going into Lily's room to play with her gadgets, her tablet, headphones, and even her school laptop. Lily uses that laptop for assignments, and he ended up breaking the screen. Amber's response? "Oh, boys are just rough with electronics. It's not a big deal." She offered no apology or compensation. That was the final straw. I went out and bought a lock for Lily's door. I installed it myself that evening, and when Amber and her kids saw it the next morning, chaos erupted. Anna accused me of being dramatic, saying that I was treating them like criminals. Lucas pouted and said I was making him feel unwelcome. Amber went on a full tirade, claiming I was creating division in the house and making her kids feel like outsiders. I stood my ground. I told her that Lily deserved her privacy and that the lock wasn't about punishing anyone. It was about setting boundaries. Amber didn't see it that way. She called me petty and said I was overreacting to normal teenage behavior. She even went as far as to say that Lily was spoiled and needed to learn to share, as if her possessions were community property. My wife is caught in the middle. She agrees that Lily's privacy should be respected, but she thinks the lock was too harsh, and that I should have discussed it with her first. Now Amber is refusing to talk to me unless I remove the lock, and she's turning other family members against me, saying I'm treating her kids unfairly. I told Amber that the lock stays on until she and her kids leave. This has caused a massive rift between my wife and me. She thinks I'm being unreasonable and that I should be more accommodating, but I don't see how it's fair for Lily to feel like a stranger in her own home. To make matters worse, Amber still shows no sign of moving out. She hasn't even started looking for a new place, and every time I bring it up, she says she needs more time to get back on her feet. Meanwhile, Lily has stopped inviting friends over because she doesn't trust Anna and Lucas not to snoop through their things. I've offered to help Amber financially to find a rental, but she claims she can't afford to live on her own. Other family members think I'm being heartless for kicking them out, but none of them have offered to take her in either. Funny how it's easy to criticize from the sidelines. Now, I'm stuck in this mess where no one is happy. Amber is making passive-aggressive comments daily. My wife is stressed and upset, and Lily is miserable. I don't regret installing the lock, but I'm starting to wonder if I could have handled this differently, or if I'm really as unreasonable as Amber says. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to remove the lock and insisting Amber and her kids leave? Or am I being too harsh on them during a tough time? Story 2.
AITA for returning the birthday gift. My mother-in-law gave me because she knew I didn't like it. So this happened recently, and my husband thinks I'm overreacting, but I'm not so sure. For context, my mother-in-law Karen, because of course has a history of giving me gifts that feel more like digs at me than actual thoughtful presents. At first I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she just didn't know me well enough. But after years of this, I'm convinced it's deliberate. Here's a prime example. I've been vegetarian for over a decade, and every Christmas, she gives me some kind of meat-related gift. Last year, it was a set of barbecue sauces. The year before that, a cookbook with steak recipes. I've always smiled, thanked her politely, and tucked the gifts away or re-gifted them, but it's become clear that she knows exactly what she's doing. Now for the birthday fiasco. A couple of weeks ago, we had a family dinner for my birthday. Karen showed up with a beautifully wrapped gift, so I thought, maybe this time will be different. Nope. Inside was a designer handbag in a shade of neon pink so blinding it could double as a traffic cone. Here's the thing. Karen knows I hate bright colors. I'm a neutral tone kind of person. Beige, gray, black, white. I've mentioned this countless times in casual conversations. I even told her directly last Christmas when she bought me a bright orange sweater that I wasn't a fan of bold colors. So when I opened the gift, I just smiled awkwardly and said, "Oh, thank you." I could tell she was watching for my reaction, almost waiting for me to squirm. After the party, I told my husband I was going to return the bag. He rolled his eyes and said, "Just keep it. It's not worth the drama." But why would I keep something I'd never use? I took the bag back to the store the next day and exchanged it for something I actually liked. A few days later, Karen came over and asked to see the bag because she wanted to show her friend a picture of it. When I told her I had exchanged it, she looked absolutely horrified. She started going on about how ungrateful I was, how much time she spent picking it out, and how she can't believe I'd do something so disrespectful. I calmly told her that I appreciated the gesture but knew I'd never use it, so I thought it made more sense to get something I actually liked. She didn't take it well. She said it wasn't about the bag. It was about the principal and how I'd embarrassed her because the store employees now knew her gift wasn't good enough. I didn't even know how to respond to that. Now she's telling everyone in the family that I'm ungrateful and that she's done trying when it comes to buying me gifts. My husband thinks I should have just kept the bag and avoided the drama, but I don't see why I should hold on to something I didn't want just to spare her feelings. So, Reddit, AITA for returning a gift I didn't like, even though my mother-in-law clearly gave it knowing it wasn't my style. Should I have just sucked it up to keep the peace?
Story 3. Am I the jerk for refusing my dad's offer to pay for my wedding because he wants to control everything? When my fiancé and I decided to get married, we knew it would be a simple ceremony. We're not the type to go over the top, and we'd rather spend the money we have on things that matter to us, like the honeymoon or saving for a house. My dad, however, doesn't agree with this. My dad has always been the controlling type, the kind who believes money equals power. When I told him about the wedding, he immediately offered to pay for everything, saying he wanted to make it grand. At first, I considered it. I mean, who wouldn't want financial help for such an important day? But it quickly became clear that he had other intentions. During the very first conversation, he started suggesting venues. My fiancé and I wanted something outdoors, simple, and intimate. He, however, suggested a huge ballroom because, according to him, it's more elegant and impressive for the guests. At that point, I thought he was just being opinionated. But then he started saying things like, "If I'm paying, I think it would be nice to include some of my friends on the guest list." Those some friends amounted to about 40 people I barely know. When I explained that we wanted a small wedding, he said it was selfish of us not to take advantage of the opportunity to make it a bigger event since he was willing to spend. After that, it only got worse. He started pushing for me to wear a more appropriate suit, basically an expensive one in his style, suggested a menu that had nothing to do with what we like, and even criticized the flowers my fiancé chose, saying they were too simple for a wedding. But the final straw came when he had the audacity to say it would be better if my fiancé's sister wasn't a bridesmaid because she doesn't fit the aesthetic he envisioned. At that point, I knew accepting his money would mean giving up all control over our wedding. When I tried to set boundaries, he hit me with that classic passive-aggressive line, "Well, if you'd rather do everything your way, then maybe I shouldn't help." So, I told him he was right. He didn't need to help. I thanked him for the offer but declined his money. That caused an uproar. He started saying I was ungrateful, that he only wanted the best for me, and that I was wasting the opportunity to have an amazing wedding. My mom tried to step in, but he shut her down, saying, "This isn't the time to defend the kid's poor choices." Since then, he's gone out of his way to criticize every aspect of the wedding. When I mentioned we were considering a more affordable caterer, he said, "Oh, so it's going to be one of those cheap weddings no one remembers?" And every time the family gets together, he brings it up again, saying things like, "Did you know your brother let me pay for his wedding? It was beautiful. Everyone loved it." Now, some relatives are starting to take his side. My uncle, for instance, said I should just give in because family helps family. Even my grandmother, who usually stays out of things, commented that parents only want the best for their children. My fiancé is trying to be patient, but I can tell this is starting to wear on her too. I feel torn. On one hand, I want my dad to understand that this is our wedding and that he can't control everything just because he has money. On the other hand, I'm starting to wonder if I was too stubborn to refuse his help, especially since it would have made things easier financially. So, what do you think? Am I the jerk for turning down my dad's money and insisting on doing things our way? Or was I right to prioritize our freedom, even if it means dealing with the drama he's causing? Thank you for watching. And you, what would you do in this situation? See you in the next story.